now you've fed me nicely. You've just won a national championship. You're representing them. You're now in the Olympic squad. Mm-hmm. What does a 4-year prep look like? So I'm not asking you to go day by day through a 4-year, but how does that feel? Well, first of all, we'll go right from the very start. Do you know 4 years in advance going, you're in the Olympic team for next year, like you are going, or is it, we've got a completely clean slate, as far as we're concerned, we've got 4 empty spots on a plane, it's now your time to prove it?
Pretty much the latter, yeah. Right. So there were 6 of us, as I said, coming out of Rio into the Tokyo cycle. So that was at end of 2016. Right. And then, the first 2 years are kind of building the foundation. So you always have to qualify for the events that then allow you to qualify for the Olympics. And that starts like 3 years out effectively. So those first few events, you're trying to, you're testing different teams out and things like that. So you might rotate the squad a lot more, and you'd sort of be compared against different people at different positions and to find what the best combination is and that kind of thing. Gaining some experience and everything as well. Like, we were young riders coming through. The more experience and more times you can be put in that race situation, the more natural it's going to feel. So it's great to get that. Olympic qualification starts 2 years out, and that's when they start to knuckle down and try and start finding, there's a bit less sort of like giving everybody a chance to prove themselves, and a bit more like, we'll take the fastest team at any one of these races. So that competition shifts more to in training for selection.
Right.
And the races, it's more about where you finish to qualify the spot at that point for the games, because only 8 teams go to the games for team sprint.
Yeah.
And then, we went through this time into 2020. The Olympics got postponed just after we'd pretty much been told, like, the team is provisionally set. The Olympics got postponed an extra year, and we wouldn't find, the slate was not wiped completely clean, but pretty clean. And then we wouldn't find out that we were racing in the Olympics I think we raced on like the 3rd of August. We'd find out we're racing on the 28th of May. So It's only 2-3 months before that you actually find out. No, 2 and a bit months before you actually find out your spot is secured. It's you fight until the end for that.
How does that call go when you get that call in May?
This time was fairly. We kind of kept a pretty open line of communication the whole way through, so it wasn't a shock. It shouldn't, if it's done right, it shouldn't really ever be a shock. There's sometimes there's situations where people are really, really close, and then it can be a bit controversial. But generally, you should know if you're going, and you should know if you're potentially like a long shot, and you'll still be obviously disappointed if it doesn't go your way, but you shouldn't be angry at someone for making a wrong decision or something like that. That's the ideal circumstance. Yeah. We had that this time. It was handled really well. The time before was a lot closer, and there was a bit more controversy around it with Rio. I was only selected as reserve, but there were like 4 of us kind of in the hunt for 2 spots then, and it was tight. But it's sometimes it's like a phone call, or I've had it as an email before as well. But generally it's as long as that a line of open communication has been kept the whole time, like it's a nice moment, but one that you should see coming if things have gone well. So
all right, okay, so it's not a sit by the phone until 3 a.m. situation.
No, not like.
Do you know, to be fair to you, I reckon even if the coach told me to my face and went, the phone call is a formality, I'm telling you,
it was.
I would still be there at 3 a.m. shitting myself going, I'm not getting a phone call.
It was 100% still that. Like, you were waiting for that day to come, and you were relieved when it happened. It was still that you wanted that kind of official, you've been selected, because then the really fun part of the cycle starts. Like, you get your information through, and you sign up, and you do your accreditation for the Olympics, and you get your invite down to collect your kit from Birmingham, where they have this big sort of trying.
I think I've seen a few snapshots of it. Yeah.
Yeah, Max, who's involved with Blokes, was doing some media stuff down there at the time and did some filming with people. So yeah, it's that's like, it's a bit of a circus around the Olympics. It's not the main thing it's about, but there's some really fun stuff you get to be involved in, and that kind of kicks off from the moment you're selected and not before. So
that sounds incredible. And now I want to talk about the Olympics and how it changes your lifestyle. So when you get that call, like how, because I know this might be more this might be more road cyclists than track cyclists, but I've happened to be in France when the tour's on and stayed in hotels where they are, and they are wheeling in their own food. They're not eating hardly any solids. Like, does this change for you as well? Does like diet change? I assume lifestyle just changes naturally for a professional athlete, but does it become proper blinkers on when the Olympics is around?
You know what? Like, when I was a younger athlete, and even at times as an older athlete, I can fall into the trap of thinking, I know I'm in this trap when I'm thinking I don't want to give myself any excuses, right?
Right.
So it's when I'm thinking I can't, if I do that and then this doesn't go well, then it's because I did that. So I just best not do that at all. Say be going out for a walk or having a pub lunch or something like that instead of something better at home.
Exactly. I mean, like a steak pie instead of
chicken
and rice.
Yeah, exactly. But like, one of the things I really worked on with my sports psychologist in the last year was knowing that we have a silly phrase, which is happy head, fast legs, right?
Makes sense.
And that's like, you know,
I buy it. Yeah, I buy it.
If you're making like hard decisions to deprive yourself of everything just with one thing in mind, then you're going to resent that thing by the end of the day. So we really he knows that I'm more inclined to be on the more intense end of the spectrum anyway. So his effort with me was really about dialing me back and making sure that I keep the things I enjoy in, so that I'm actually, enjoying the process, and then I'm probably more likely to go better than if I've stripped everything away and put everything on this one thing. So we did a lot of work on that. We did a lot of work on sort of seeing the perspective that obviously you've been working towards it for years, but it's not the be all end all, and your family will still love you even if it doesn't go well, and that kind of thing, So like, it gives.
That's some pressure you put on yourself.
Yeah, you've got like a future beyond it, whatever happens, so that you don't think your life is all coming down to that one day.
Right.
And so having all of that support around me, and I've been really lucky to have that support, it really helps me to just treat it in the same way I would any other competition, which is as seriously as I can without it being a burden and taking away from the things that I enjoy in life. And that made me enjoy the Olympic experience just far more than I think I would have done had I just gone blinkers on, like fully focused from ages out, because I don't think anyone can really maintain that for more than like 2 or 3 weeks before you crack, and then you undo a lot of that. So yeah.
Wow. Well, that was beautifully put. Genuinely beautifully put. Happy head, fast legs. I want that on a t-shirt for the TV.
I didn't invent that. I'm not going to coin that.
I like it.
It's gone through the grapevine at British Cycling, but
is that a Wigan specialist that's just stayed through the test?
I don't know. I wouldn't want to attribute it to one person, because then the real owner is going to come out and go, that's me. Like,
I know your sports psychologist is just breaking like binders. Like, I said
it. Yeah, he's been behind it all along. He's planted the seeds. So
in fairness, that's another nice question.